Hello, friend. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with, if I could choose only one work by composer X, it would have to be work P. Well, composer X is Franz Schreker. What a name, Schreker. And work P is the Chamber Symphony. Now, I know, first of all, most people have no idea who Franz Schreker is. He's only really come to the attention of the world of music in the past couple of decades. But since that time, he's been extremely well exposed. He was basically an opera composer. He really was a really superheated, slushy, decadent, Korngold-like opera composer, writing sultry, sexy, psychologically frustrated, repressive, perverted, that kind of stuff. It's great. Absolutely great. His real masterpiece, operatically, which I could have chosen, was Die Gezeichneten, the Branded, which I have talked about in other videos, and I suggest you go have a look at that. But it's a big, long opera, and I think that we can encapsulate his style if we choose one of his very, very few, very few orchestral works. There are things from the operas, overtures and preludes and things and interludes, and very few orchestral pieces. But what exists is extraordinary and entirely typical of him. And I think he deserves a little bit more credit when we go to the God Kankrasans and say, don't eliminate all classical music, but one work per composer. We can say about Schreker's Chamber Symphony, like, this is a masterpiece. And there are other masterpieces from this epoch, that fin de siècle decadent epoch, including by Korngold and even composers like Pfitzner and people like that, and they really ought to be preserved. And you can find out in 25 minutes, which is how long the Chamber Symphony lasts, why they should be preserved. The Chamber Symphony is an extraordinary work. It really is. It has, first of all, chamber symphonies by themselves were quite rare. This was composed in the 20s. Schoenberg's Chamber Symphony was one of the very first exemplars of this particular style of writing for a small group of soloists. And this is as un-Schoenbergian as it's possible to be, because Schreker was all about timbre. He was a chord guy. He was the ultimate chord guy from that period, probably. It's got, just solo strings and a lovely selection of winds and maybe a horn or so. I have the score over there. I should go look, but I'm too lazy. And a harmonium, of course. You got to have a harmonium. And Strauss has a harmonium in Salome. That's where you get the harmonium. Mahler used one in the 8th Symphony. So you get a harmonium and a celesta. Oh, yeah. Let's do it, all kinds of stuff. It's really beautiful and very delicate percussion and some wonderful swishes on the tam-tam. It is voluptuous music. It's dreamy. It's hallucinatory. But it's also very symphonic. It's a 4-in-1 symphony. It has an opening preludial movement, a slow movement, a scherzo, and a finale. And it drifts away dreamily at the end. It has been recorded now quite a few times. And I'm really happy about that, because it just deserves the widest possible currency. If you don't know it, just give it a shot. You will fall in love with this piece. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's so typical. What's typical? What is typical? First of all, there's that rich orchestration. There's this dreamy, impressionistic, almost French kind of feeling about it. There's also the opening. Schreker's openings are often this kind of, hazy fog out of which stuff emerges, rippling arpeggios. And you hear that in his ballet, The Birthday of the Infanta, and you hear it at the beginning of Die Gezeichneten. Just these beautiful accompanimental ostinati, which he invented, just these gorgeous patterns over which rather simple melodies float. He's not a complex composer in terms of melody and even in harmony in some ways. He's an enormously complex composer in terms of orchestration and texture and timbre. And that's one of the reasons his music probably went out of style, because you couldn't systematize it. It's tactile. And when a composer can't be systematized, everyone ignores them. I mean, theoreticians and the people who are the tastemakers tend to ignore them because you can't sound smart when you talk about it. You just have to just feel it. When you say things like that, you sound like, a 1970s hippie or something, not like a musicologist. When you don't say, oh, look at the, inverted supertonic subdominant something thing that does this, and the Schenkerian analysis Urlinia. You can't do any of that with Schreker. It's all about the sound and about the beauty of the melodies and the shimmery textures. And, I just love this stuff. Call me mindless. I confess. I confess. He's one of the great chord guys in all of music. And the Chamber Symphony is his most characteristic and original work. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.